Hello. Welcome everyone who's watching to our last of a wonderful series of talkbacks and presentations that we've had. We're so excited tonight to welcome Jen Cody, and she's going to talk to us about her career, which is vast and wide and beautiful, and so many awesome experiences. And we cannot wait to hear from her. And we are going to be welcoming some students on today to ask some questions as well. So, Jen, if you could just start us off by telling us, I know you've done so many amazing things, but if you just want to kind of catch us up on what's going on right now, that would be awesome.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jen Cody. I was a graduate of Rush Henrietta, but it was when it was Roth. So I think that's the junior high now. I never went to Sperry, but it was always the bigger school, and it was very intimidating. Since I graduated, I've done a lot of stuff. I live in New York City. We're in the midst of, chaos, just like you guys are. And we have not been able to perform, at least live, for, the year and some extra weeks there. I have had opportunities to do stuff online, like I'm sure like this. I've done a couple of plays online, and I actually just filmed an episode of Younger, which is a TV show. So that I filmed it, and it was like my first show back post-COVID. And I think that probably comes out in a couple months. So, I'm looking forward to this being over soon and getting to sing and dance on stage again. We'll see. Fingers crossed soon.
We all have hope. We all have hope. So
Yeah.
we are going to welcome our first student to get us kicked off with some questions. So Ella Leathersitch is going to join us. Hey, Ella, she's a 10th grader at the high school, and she's working with us in her first show with us at the high school.
What is it, Ella? What's your first show?
Well, we're doing a musical review because we cannot do an actual musical this year. But it's so much fun right now. We have a bunch of different songs and dances from a bunch of different shows.
That's the best.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I just finished choreographing a show in North Carolina with students from a college. We did it outside. We did Into the Woods, and it was really fun. And they wore masks the whole time, but they were so great. And it was it was really special to have that happen after so long. And I kept telling them, you're so lucky. Even the professionals can't do what you're getting to do right now. So I hope you're very lucky.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Good.
So my question is, what kind of schooling do you feel is necessary for students who would like to go into the theater or the acting business?
Well, I'll say a lot of people go to school. A lot of people don't. I went to Fredonia, which is a college near your home. Did you go to Fredonia too?
I did.
Yay! I went and studied acting. They didn't have a lot of musical theater programs when I went to school, so I just studied acting. I think it's important to go somewhere that you become your whole self. I think that's like the most important thing, right? I always say, never be a dumb anything. So being a smart actor or a smart, there's a lot of different things you can study in our business of theater. You said acting, or I don't know if you meant musicals too, but I always say it's like when you take dance classes and your teachers always say, be good at ballet because that's the base of everything. And then once you're really good at ballet and you have that technique, you're really good at everything. I kind of feel like that's acting too. If you study acting, then you have a base to build the singing and the dancing, because all that stuff is really acting. You're just doing it a different way. So I would say find some place that you can try out different things that you don't know about even. I mean, in high school, we did musicals, but we never did plays when I was there. And I didn't really know that there was things like stage management and company management. Like I didn't know any of that. So I would say find some place that'll let you explore different things, because you might find that while you only know there's like 4 jobs in theater, there might be something else that just like clicks for you. So that's what I would say. I loved Fredonia. I got to teach dancing while I was there, and that really made me, I think, a stronger leader and focused and made me be able to talk to people. So I think that's what I would say. Does that answer your question at all? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Ella, is there anything else you want to ask before you jet off?
Well, I know that you were in live shows and you've done voice acting. So how different is voice acting or a television show? How different is it compared to live theater?
Oh, they're also completely different. The thing about live theater is that it's almost always in your court. You held the power, right? Because no matter how you're directed or how you're like choreographed, when you're on stage, you're making the choices that the people are seeing, right? So people help you make those choices, but then once you get out there, it's all on you. TV and film is completely different because you do a lot of different takes, and sometimes not even really even talking to the person who is actually in the scene with you. And then when it comes out on TV or in a movie theater, it's the director's choices of what you're seeing. So you're like, I hated that take that I took. It doesn't matter. So you kind of lose a little power when you're doing stuff on film or on television. And then voiceovers is even crazier because most of the time I do voiceovers alone in a room. And I will say a line is, I want to go outside. I will do it 3 times and I'll say, I want to go outside. I want to go outside. Oh, I want to go outside. I never figure out what they pick. It just goes into a box, and then they look at the character and like, let's pick B. And so that's an even crazier no power situation because that's really just me acting different lines out. I never even get to put it all together. So those are what I think the differences are. Any other questions?
I do not have any other questions.
That's awesome, Ella. Thanks so much. Go have fun at
Ella.
dance class. Thanks. I'm so glad you're able to join us.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Ella.
Bye.
Oh, so cute. So our next student will be coming in a few minutes. So, yeah, Fredonia, I forgot that you had mentioned that somewhere. I'd read it somewhere, and I was like, yes, I got my undergrad and my graduate at Fredonia.
Oh, wow.
I loved it there. I loved it there. I started as a vocal major, and then I switched to English. So now I'm an English teacher.
Where did you live? Where was your?
I started in Casling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a scholarship for housing. So I lived in Disney for my next 3 years. And then I moved off to Brigham. I lived there for a year.
I lived in Brigham too. It's like a rite of passage, I think.
You have to, right? Especially. And then we rented a house that was actually Dunkirk, my final year there. But I loved it. It was on Green Street.
Because I lived on 1007.5 Central, which is kind of Dunkirk too. So that's why I asked. I was like, what if we lived in the same house?
Wouldn't that have been so funny? Yeah, so were you a Casling or a Nixon girl?
No, I was across the way. Gosh, I can't remember what the name of it is. It was the last one. Gosh, it was
and now
like
it's
really
all different. Now it's all different anyway. I haven't been back in a while and it's completely different. So
I went and sang for their 50th anniversary concert last year. And the whole, Rockefeller Art Center is all huge and
beautiful and gorgeous.
Studios and things that we never had when I was there.
Yeah, and I think didn't Alyssa Stoller sing at that too?
I think so, yes.
She and I were there at the same time. She was a year behind me.
It was very quick. I flew in, I sang, I flew out that night. So I don't have a lot of recollection.
You're probably not. Yeah, me. Oh, she's in the city too, and she does a lot of gigging, jazz singing, and so
I remember her now that you say that.
Yeah, blonde, beautiful girl. Yeah, she and I knew each other back in the day. Now you're Facebook friends, and then actually Brian Yusufer. I don't know if you've worked with him at all. Yeah. He actually, this is my little claim that he and I were in the Newman Center, and he came and played piano for us. So he actually played for me in my singing a solo and a thing we did. So I'm and now he's music director at Frozen.
Yep.
my little brush with fame way back then. So before our next student comes on, I think you're going to get a lot of questions about voice acting and all of that different things.
I
But
usually do.
yeah, because, well, kids, they recognize your voice. I mean, even my girls were like, I have 3 little girls and they're all like, oh, she's what? She's who? Guys. And I was like, yeah, mama's going to get to talk to her. So I think something that would be really neat to hear about too is, and now it's gone out of my head, all the Fredonia talk and nostalgia, is what do you think? Oh, Ella actually just asked me a question. She's so cute. Do you see her question? We'll just let her. How did you get your big break? She's so cute. Is she still on here? We'll bring her back on. Are you still here, Ella? You can come back on. Is she still here?
Yes. Ella.
Sorry.
And no, it's a good question. Although I always hate to tell the story because it makes it seem like it's really easy. I had a very lucky day one day. There's also a lesson there. I went to audition in New York City for the Broadway production of Guys and Dolls. And they wanted girls who were 5'4" and up. I am not. I am 4'11". I'm very small. And I went anyway. And I wrote my name and my height on a card. I didn't lie. I said I'm 4'11". And I danced and I was cut very quickly. But the casting director saw me and he thought, oh, she'd be good in Cats because she's so tiny. So he kept the card, but there was nothing on the card but my name and he couldn't find me. So he happened to be walking down the street and I was doing a benefit concert and all the names of the people in the concert were listed. And he said, that's the name. And he called the theater that I was doing the 3-week benefit really quick at. And he said, come to the Winter Garden tomorrow. And I went and I got in Cats. So go to every audition. That's the rule because you never know.
Awesome.
So cool.
Yeah. Where do you study dance, Elle?
I dance at 2 different studios. So I dance at Platinum Dance Company and Universal Movement and Dance.
Well, Platinum, I think, had some of my teachers from when I used to take. I went to a school called Joyce Winter School of Dance, Drama, and Modeling, but I think some of the teachers teach at Platinum now. They might have started it.
Really? That's
interesting. So there you go.
Huh.
All right. Thanks so much, Ella.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. Go dance. Have fun. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. So we have a question from Gabby, who's not on here, but Mrs. Diana. Thanks, Mrs. Diana. She's maneuvering our question for him. So what was it like working with Brian, Darcy, Sutton Foster, and the rest of the Shrek cast?
Oh, Shrek. It was fun. I mean, the good thing about doing Shrek is that it wasn't ever a show before, right? So we got to kind of pick our characters and then we worked on the characters and we got to develop what they were going to look like and what they were going to sound like. And they wrote music for us, which is so great. That when you get to originate a role is really great. I've done a couple shows with Brian. We also did a show called The Wild Party together, which is probably my favorite theatrical experience I've ever done. Sutton and I have done a few shows together. We did Grease on Broadway together. We did Snoopy together. And I'm married to her brother, so we see her all the time. And the rest of the cast, I love my Shrek cast. And I have not seen the television version that I think you probably have seen. But here's a fun fact, is that I had already left the show when they came in to record that. And some of it didn't record well. So they found footage from the Tony Awards that we had done and other things. So if you watch the elf carefully, sometimes she's tiny. That's me. And then sometimes she's bigger. That is not me.
Yeah, that's funny too, because that's actually Shrek was the first, and it was Shrek Junior was the first show I ever took my little one to. My biggest one. And so when that came on Netflix, she was obsessed with it. So we'll have to go back through and watch. So New is here. So we're going to welcome New. Hi, New. This is New Tran. She is a junior. And New always has tons and tons of questions. I think New is probably our student who has come to almost every single talkback and the dance class. And even though she's never acted before, did the acting master class and did a great job.
I'm telling you, when you can do something for free, do it. Like these people who aren't taking advantage of this, they're crazy. Because if I could come and listen to people speak when I was in high school, oh my gosh, good for you. Good for you, New.
Oh, no, we can't hear you, sweetheart. Are you? Yeah. There we go.
I wanted to meet you because like I'm interested in voice acting. So that's why I was like, oh my gosh. Also, I watched clips of Charlotte from Princess of the Frog because that's who you are. She's amazing. So yeah, you gave her you gave her a lot of life. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that's the thing about voiceovers, right? Finding a way to put life into your voice when you're sitting by yourself in a room. I was just saying earlier that, I took like a year to record Princess and the Frog, and they would fly me to LA and I would like do a 4-hour session, and then I'd be done for months and then be flown back and do another 4-hour session, never having been in a room with anyone, Anika or trying to think of all the people in the film with me. I never got to do anything with them. So I was acting by myself, trying to keep that energy up that Charlotte had to have. And that was probably the real challenge. And I'm glad it worked. And I never even knew what she looked like when I filmed it. That's the also crazy part, is that they videotaped me, and until it was all done, I never saw her. And the first time I went to LA and they showed the film, I was just crying. I was like, oh my God, she's beautiful. I love her.
Yeah, and she has such a good heart too. You know, she's such a great character in that way.
She didn't really start that way. That's kind of a cool thing that the movie, as we worked on it, they kept changing it. She was kind of a brat, the original script. And I think I don't know if it was stuff they saw me do or maybe a scene turned something and they changed their minds, but they rewrote the end. And I guess they went to release the film like 8 days before, and the test audiences were like, Charlotte has to end up with someone. There was like revolt. And I went in really at the last minute and recorded that little snip at the end of the movie where you see me with the little boy dancing.
I love that.
Because they just wanted some hope for Charlotte. So that made me feel really good.
I love that when and she was like, well, I waited this long, so I might as well keep waiting.
Yeah.
So,
why not?
It was really fun.
Good.
And also, that's interesting that you said you don't even know what the character looked like, because the voice acting videos that I've watched so far, or at least I've watched people try voice acting, they watch already made films and they followed along, while you just do it first. And
so there's a couple different ways. So sometimes I did a cartoon called Winx Club that was on Nickelodeon, and that was already made in Italy, and they wanted to bring it to America. And so I was hired, and I had to watch what we call lip dubbing, where we watch their mouths move. And I had to put English words to a character that was speaking Italian and make it work. It's the hardest thing to do, figuring out where to breathe, where their shoulders go up. So that's also, you can do that pre-done. I've done characters where I know what she looks like. Like I did Robot and Monster for Nickelodeon, and I knew she was a robot, but I didn't really know how she even talked or how her mouth moved. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you do voiceovers, but lip dubbing is certainly the hardest. Yeah.
My mom, she watches Hong Kong dramas or like Korean dramas, and sometimes we would watch it dub. And yeah, like you can tell how different the wordings and the lips is. Or like sometimes when the translation, like let's say English, you use less words to say a sentence.
Yes,
and like,
I know.
Right. So sometimes I'm like, the audio already finished, and you could still see them talking.
See their
mouth.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'll get a script and I'll have to say like, "Come here," and the mouth goes. I'm like, how am I going to come here in that whole thing?
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's like math to me.
Yes. What do you improvise then? Instead of come here, do you add a couple more words that would still like fit?
Yeah, or you say like, look, come here is not going to work. Hey, you, get over here. Like you try to figure out keeping the character's intention the same and keeping the, like if the character's young, keeping the voice young and stuff like that. But usually a director will help you and go, well, that's not going to work. Let's change what the words are going to be.
Yeah, you would want to make it as natural as possible. So
it's hard.
Well, sometimes too, Hong Kong dramas, they don't do like different actors dubbing. They just do one whole robotic voice at dubbing. So yeah, we usually don't like that. But like sometimes you gotta watch what you have. So
right, it's true. Very
but
true.
yeah, it's super awkward because male, female, children, they all sound the same.
Wow.
So yeah,
it's funny. I watch Iron Chef a lot, and sometimes the earlier episodes they dub because most of the judges they weren't English speaking, so they overdub them. But the voices never match what I think those people should sound like ever.
Which is why I sometimes watch anime. I'm against dub, to be honest, because the Japanese just sounds so much more natural because it's the original language of the anime.
Yeah, so I agree.
And dubbing it's just awkward unless it's so bad that it's good. It's awkward. And I just love original languages of the original film because it just fits more. I didn't know Winx Club was made in Italy though.
Yes,
so that's awesome.
And here's another thing about Winx Club is that when we first started the first season on Nickelodeon, they weren't properly clothed. Like it was they were very scantily clad for teenage girls because the voice I do is a teenage girl or teenage witch. And so they had to go in and draw more clothes on them before they came out here.
Oh, good. That means America did a little something right there.
It covered a little bit up.
All right.
I mean, because like some of their costumes already is not that much costume. So the fact that you said it's even more scanty, it's like, what?
Yes.
what did they even wear?
Yes.
All right. Well, New, thanks so much for joining us. We've got Jack waiting, so we're going to tip, but thank you so much. New, take care. We'll see you soon. All right. Now we'll get Jack on. Hi, Jack.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Totally. Jack's taking a break with us. He's at work.
Yeah.
And he was so excited that we were able to squeeze him in to come and ask because Jack, I believe, is are you switching up what you're gonna head to school for, Jack?
Yeah, so I originally was gonna go for biomedical sciences, and like throughout my entire high school career I was like, oh yeah, like science, medical school. And then I don't know, this past year I've been seriously contemplating music theater, so I think I just gotta go for it.
I think you do too. All right, Jack. That's
this
amazing.
Young man in a master class today had me crying with the beautiful song that he was singing. It was gorgeous.
Jack, that's fantastic. And again, you'll be a smart actor. Right?
Yeah.
I couldn't do bio anything. I was not great in science. So
all right, Jack, what do you want to ask Jen?
So I think my major question is like, what did you wish that you knew when you were my age and like starting out, like going to college and starting out in the industry?
I know this answer very well. And I always try to tell like people who teach to tell everyone this. So I'm very tiny. I'm 4'11". I have this crazy squeaky voice. And I tried so long to not have that voice and to try to be something else. And then I realized like 20 years into my career, oh my gosh, I can be me because no one else can do that better than me. And I can try to be people that I looked up to, but they do that better. They are always going to be better at themselves than I will be trying to be them. So I think it's like, I would just encourage you to find out what makes you unique. And instead of trying to change it, blow it up. because that makes you different when you walk into a room where there's 40 people. Because everyone, at one point, everyone's going to be talented. That's, great. You keep studying, everyone's going to sing well, everyone's going to dance well, but no one's going to be you. So that's my advice.
Sorry, I'm getting orders at work.
Where do you work, Jack?
Work at Carrabba's.
Yeah, my mom's favorite place.
Oh yeah. No, it's not the rush yet, so thank God. But.
Okay.
Jack is a multitasker, so he's already got something down for him.
Good for you.
No, so everybody's jumping in on the call. Jack, is there anything else? I know you're probably going to have to get back, but I think that's a good message, and that's something we've heard from a couple. I think we heard that from Harris too, right? Find you and who you are as an actor, and be you.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think Nick was talking about how he would walk into like an audition, and it would be like 40 people who look exactly like him.
Yeah.
That's why he went a different path, but yeah, so that had me kind of concerned too, because like, I'm very average, like I'm very average looking, brown hair, brown eyes, like right. So yeah, so that is really helpful, that I can just like know to find who I am, and explore that.
Yeah. That's you're not average. No one's average. There's things about you that make you completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let it sway you. I was always told you're too short to be a dancer. Pshaw.
Talk to me about being short now, people.
Right? I'll win. I always win the short thing.
All right. Jack, anything else you want to ask before you have to get back to it?
Oh wait, I think there was one thing.
He's
switching to look at probably his notes.
I'm impressed.
Just one more thing. So at like the age I'm at, and at like in college, what are the things that I should be doing to like be getting the most experience and making the most connections?
Never say no, right? So in college, you're going to get distracted by a lot of fun and stuff like that. Never miss out on opportunities because you were tired. Never miss out on opportunities because you'd rather like go hang out. Like college, everything you're learning is you can either learn this much in college or you can learn this much in college. That's all on you. But once you get out of college, you got to start paying for stuff that's not like part of this college bundle. And so whenever anyone offers a talkback, whenever anyone says, hey, come read this scene with me, whenever anyone says, I'm doing this dance class, and you're like, well, I don't want to do it. Always say yes. And do stuff that makes you terrified. Like if you are not a pop singer and you only sing standard musical theater, get out there and sing some like Led Zeppelin, right? Like you probably don't even know who that is. I picked like the weirdest reference. A rock band. You know what I'm saying? Because once doing stuff that terrifies you only makes you your bucket that you can pull from bigger. And you want to leave college with the biggest bucket that you can to keep pulling stuff from.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it was a lot. I was a lot. I know.
Stepping out of my comfort zone, getting out of my shell. But...
Not just stepping out, jumping with both feet out. This is not a time to be comfortable. Because you'll never find out what you're really great at unless you try everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Probably heading back to work, but thank you so much.
Okay. Have some breadsticks. Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
All right. And Grace is here. So we have Grace coming in. Hi, Grace. This is Grace Toronto. She's a senior. Grace also has made me cry with her ridiculously amazing voice.
Yay. Hi, Grace.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. Do I just ask questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. What do you want to know?
Right. So my first question was, when and how should you start trying to become an equity member?
Union girl, huh?
She's smart. She asks about this stuff. She asked before too.
I'm so glad because to be honest, I never knew anything about what a union did or what it was. So thanks for that question. So I would say joining a union is really important if this is the career path you're choosing. I think a lot of people like to act and a lot of people like to do it for fun, and that's great. You don't have to go ahead and join a union to do this stuff, right? But if you want to be in this business for a while, you want protection. You want to not, have to work 23 hours a day building sets and then doing your show and then, cleaning the toilets. And like, there are rules that let you sleep, right? You want to be protected because it's a very physical occupation. And so you want to have health care, and you want to, if you get hurt, you want protection from being hurt with like workman's comp. Those are all really big ideas, but you also want to be able to do this for a long time and then retire. And that's also like, I know everyone's like, what? Pension? What? But I think that union work is really important if this is a career you want to stay in. And I think you kind of know when you're ready to make that jump. I think I did a tour, I did a couple shows, and I kept saying, no, I don't want my card yet because I wasn't ready. And then when it was offered for a big show, I was like, okay. And I'm glad that happened. So yeah, union protection for workers.
So how does that work? I'm just to piggyback on this. How does a person get the opportunity to? Can anyone join the union, or do you have to be in a certain type of production?
No, right now you have to. You can either audition for a show, and they say you will get your card at the end of the show. You can incur EMC points, which is Equity Membership Candidate points. So a lot of shows, a lot of theaters, you can work for them and they say, okay, you've gotten this many points for the per week that you work there. And the idea is that you're learning about what it is to be a professional. And after so many weeks, and I think it's 12, it's smaller. It used to be a bigger number. And then a couple years ago, we lowered that. You have the opportunity to join. So those are the ways that I know you can join. I know that there's like hubbub about changing all that and making it a more open access situation, but as of right now, that's how you do it.
That's what
Grace.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah. Grace, do you have any other questions?
I had one more about the acting than the business.
Okay.
What kind of role do you personally find the most fulfilling?
It's funny. I just said this to the gentleman before you. I think the roles, I don't know they're going to be the most fulfilling, but they terrify me. Like if I get hired and I look at the script or I look at the song and I'm so scared and I panic, ultimately, when I'm doing that part, I'm so fulfilled that I don't know if it's getting through the fear and achieving something, but usually the stuff I'm most afraid of is the most fulfilling in the end. Yeah, I love, like, it's not, for me, it's not Broadway or it's not, television. It's like whatever job that I can go into and forget that I'm doing a job. Those are dreams. And I've actually gotten to do a couple of them at Jiva, roles that have just consumed me that I loved. And that's why I always love going to Jiva.
Can I ask what you've done at Jiva?
Yes. So I did Sylvia, a play there where I played a dog.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to tell my papa. My Nana and Papa went and saw that show and they loved you.
Yay!
Oh my God.
I was Sylvia the dog.
Like the membership where they go to every show that season and they thought you were phenomenal.
Oh yay. Thank you. I did Spam-A-Lot there. That was also very fun because I got to play a role usually played by a boy. I just did a play there recently. I can't remember the name of it. Isn't that awful? COVID has like made my brain a little mushy. But I got to play a cop And again, I'm 4'11", so that was a really, really fun part for me. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a little bit of experience with Diva. I've seen some of their shows, and I did 2 of their summer programs. So that is a place I'm pretty familiar with.
You're very lucky to have such a great theater in your town.
Oh yeah,
it's really good. I never went there as a kid or even as an adult until I worked there. So it's really good.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. We are lucky. Rochester is so rich with theater. I don't think people always realize the opportunity that we have here.
Yeah.
Grace, is there anything else on your brain?
No, I think
All right.
Thanks so much for joining us,
Grace.
Grace. Good to see you. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so we've got somebody coming in a couple more minutes. Yeah, I think that's so important for especially for our kids to know that like there's opportunity in these theaters too. Like you can always go and ask, can I just like shadow somebody or usher? And you get and that's that connectivity too that Jack was talking about. What do you want? Go to a theater, meet the people.
Yeah,
you know?
It's true. Because I mean, Rochester has not only Jiva, but you have the JCC does great things. You have what's the
auditorium? Yep, RBTL. Yep, auditorium theater.
No, but you have the community theater that's really rich there. Oh, I can't remember it.
Pittsford Musicals, Webster Theater Guild. Who am I thinking?
It's downtown. It's like the Blackfriars. The Blackfriars.
Oh yes, Blackfriars. Yeah,
such a great community theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they do some really neat stuff. Yeah, and the kids, we try to kind of encourage, like, get out and go to those things. You know, there's always, and we actually, one of our alums, Mary Fader, she was like 2 months into her sound tech degree at Alfred, and Jiva's sound person left, and she happened to see the ad at 18, and she applied, and they said, and she's like, I don't really have any experience. They're like, are you willing to learn? And she's like, yep. They're like, come on, we'll teach you. And she like,
that's so good.
And then she went during when COVID, she was on the national tour of Fiddler doing audio too, you know? So it's amazing how don't forget about your local community theaters. They offer so very much too.
And 2 of the people I've worked with at Jiva, their costume designer and their wardrobe mistress dressed me on Broadway. So they dressed me, and then they came back here to have a different kind of life in Rochester. And so all those people, they know people too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Connections. Sometimes just and that's what everybody's kind of been talking about is just get out there. And I love that you said, don't be afraid, because that's what kind of, I think the underlying message is just get out there, say yes, do everything you can, and you'll find a place.
And be kind. I have to say.
Thank you. We've heard that too. And it's so important.
It's not about getting the first job. It's about having the career in the business. And you can be very talented and work for a little bit, but if you're not kind, the chances of you getting rehired by people are very slim. And, you know, it's a small pool. Word gets out. Be kind.
Yeah, and that's what that idea that theater seems like a big thing until you talk to one person and make them mad.
Everyone knows.
Everybody knows your name, and not in a good way. I was actually just reading about a infamous, like very well-known actress. I won't mention names, but how, you know, people rallied against, you know, that your reputation will come after you. And even if you're very well known, you know, you might not continue to be employed. So I think that's it. And I love that, because we talk about the family of theater and the family of the arts, and you got to have each other's back, because, you know, it's a place to be vulnerable and free and enjoy your time. So thank you for that. So I'm hoping that Kai will come on soon. Ashton, I see Ashton, you're watching, I think. Ashton, if you want, you can hop on now. I see that, you know, he made a comment in the chat, but Ashton, if you want to jump on now, you're welcome to. And then when Kai comes in, we'll talk to her. But while we're waiting for someone to pop in, I know one of the questions, and actually I know it was her next question. She always wants to know about like the biggest disaster that's ever happened.
Disaster.
Yeah, she always wants to know. Hey, Ashton, I see your hello. Can you do you want to click that link I emailed you and you can pop in and talk with us? So while Jen's talking about disasters, if you want to hit that link, I emailed you back.
I'm trying to think what someone might consider a disaster. This was one I was on stage. I wasn't a part of it, but it is pretty awful. So I'll tell this story. So I was doing a show called Urinetown, which I don't know if anyone knows it, but it was the show I was doing during 2001, during 9/11. And it was a very popular show. It was a tiny show. And we were performing at what is now called the Sondheim Theater, which back when we were performing there, it was terrible. It was a horrible theater. It needed renovations. It was gross. But it was right for the show. The show was kind of a,
CD
dirty, seedy show. So we were doing this show one night, and the clientele that would come to the show, all dressed up to the nines for a Broadway show, would walk in and it'd be gross, and they'd be like, oh, in the world of the show. Well, things would happen in the show that they would think were part of the show. One night, our spot operator, who was up on scaffolding above the audience, was not feeling well. And we were in the midst of Act 1. The show had just started, and he got sick all over the audience.
No.
And we were on stage, and we were like, something smells terrible. Like, we're whispering as we're doing the show, dancing the opening number full out. And we were like, we'd run through the audience a lot, and he had vomited. And the people in the audience thought it was part of the show. So they stayed in their seats. And our stage manager had to go out and say, could you guys all please come with me? And they also thought that was part of the show, and brought them backstage so they could clean up and give them robes and stuff to put on. But I thought it was funny. They were there for the ride, and they were willing. They were like, oh, this is great. They fake got sick on me. And
no, honey, that was real.
That was real.
Oh, that must have been that. But talk about immersive theater, right?
Yeah, it was.
Without knowing it. That's insane. So I hope New was watching. She would really, really get a kick out of that. All right, we're going to welcome Ashton on. Hi, Ashton. This is Ashton Whitbeck, and he is a junior.
Hi.
And he is one of our...
I'm still in awe about the comment that was just made.
I'm so sorry. You asked, though, and here's the thing. I will tell you everything. So I figured I'd give you something good.
Right. Okay.
All right, Ashton, you had some great questions you emailed me.
Yeah, I had a list of questions, but Grace and Jack seem to have taken all of them.
Oh,
no.
No, I made up a bunch more as I was watching through this and listening.
You're so good, Ashton.
So some of the ones I have was, what were some techniques, or what are some techniques you have for preparing your voice for voice acting or stage acting? Whoops, hang on.
That's all right. They're kind of the same, right? A lot of times when I'll get a voiceover job, I don't really know what they want from me, right? I've auditioned, so I know what the copy looks like copy meaning the words I'm going to say. But I don't really know. They kind of have me for an hour, and I could get in that booth and they could say, here's the new script. And in this script, you have to scream and you have to pretend you're getting, falling down the stairs, or I always go into a voiceover job thinking they could ask me for anything today. So I always warm up. I do a vocal warm up, just like I'm going to sing. And I warm up in the shower usually to get everything, wet and ready to go. I always bring an apple with me, like a green apple, because that tends to take the spit out of your mouth a little bit. So if you're doing something and it's too wet, you can take a bite of that apple and it kind of takes care of that for you a little bit. I have my little things. I take cough drops with me. I take water. I take my apple. But yeah, other than warming up and just being ready in case anything happens, that's kind of it.
Right.
Being ready to go. Yeah.
All right. So one of the other questions I had was there ever a moment in your career where you realized, or really realized, I could make this acting into my What was that moment where it really hit you?
it's funny that you asked. I will tell you exactly when I realized this could be a career. I was with my high school, Rush Henrietta Roth, and we went to New York City to see plays once a year, right? So we would go for four days. We would see like 6 shows in 4 days. It was crazy. And we went one year, and we went and saw a play called Noises Off, which is a very, very funny play. And I must have been 15, I think. And I had seen plays before, but I had never been to a play where everybody in the audience was laughing so hard. I mean, they were buckled over. They were laughing so hard. And an actress came on stage, and she was playing an actress, right? So she was an actress playing an actress. And she looked in a mirror that was on stage, and she started doing mirror exercises with the mirror. And I thought, that's a funny bit. I bet you that wasn't in the script, and she made that up. And that's really funny. Like, I remember putting it together in my head and realizing that's what I wanted to do for a living. Whatever that was, I was like, that's a career. And these people all come to see it, so it must be a job. And that's when I decided to go to school for it.
All right. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Which one's next? So, this one, I guess, is similar to a question I think Jack Katina asked. When you were pursuing theater or theater of the arts, whatever, as a career, what were some of the challenges that you faced with that?
Oh, so many. Oh, look, it's not easy. It's hard. And you will audition 60 to 100 times before someone goes, oh, that wasn't bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not easy. I think it was, I was saying before, finding that being 4'11" going to dance calls was very discouraging until I found what I did well. And I was like, oh, I could, my big break came in Cats, playing a tiny kitten, right? My first job in New York, I played a 6-year-old. I was 21. So I was like, oh, I could play really young people because I know how they act because I've done it already. But I think it's mostly a lot of times you get very discouraged because you work on something very hard and you're like, how can I couldn't have been more prepared. How did I not get that job? And I think as you get older and you sit on the other side of the table sometimes, you realize it has very little to do with your skill or your talent. A lot of times it's, the color. It could be like the color shirt you're wearing. The director doesn't like orange. And so you come in and the director tunes you out because it doesn't like orange. And you realize how it's out of your hands. So I would just say your job as an actor or a performer in whatever line you're in, when you're auditioning, you can just be prepared. You can just go in and do what you do to the best of your ability. And after a few years of doing it, you realize when you leave the room, you just leave it in the room because it doesn't have anything more to do with you. So I guess that's the hardest part, is learning that lesson, that it very rarely has to do with your performance. A lot of times it's just you weren't the person for that job,
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the hardest part. But I've already told you the answer, so you don't have to deal with that then.
All right. And that relates to another question I was going to ask was, what were some of the things you had to teach yourself during your career about like how acting or auditions and things like that work? Or like anything you had to tell yourself or constantly remind yourself, I should say.
Oh gosh, I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning. I think a big thing was I would watch myself perform. I never did this when I lived in New York. I moved to LA. I was starting to do a lot of TV. And so I would video myself. And I realized that TV and film is a totally different monster than on stage, right? On stage, you're far away from people. You have to admit, well, TV is about this. So I would videotape myself and go, oh my gosh, I do this funny thing. I tilt my head weird, or I had to figure out how I worked in this box. So like that was something that I'm still learning. A lot of times I'll go and I work with actors who work on TV all the time, and we'll be doing a scene and they'll ask like the right questions. They're like, well, what's the camera shot? Is it 3/4? And I just sit there and go, I'm just going to say my lines and figure out that hopefully they'll light me the way I'm supposed to be lit. So I'm still working on that stuff.
Wow.
So I think always keep learning, because there's always something you don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
I think this leads me to my last question, which is pretty simple.
Prepared. Ashton is prepared.
It's a pretty simple question, but I find always pretty complicated.
Okay.
What has been your favorite role or show you've been a part of?
Okay, so that's hard. You're right. Seems simple, but it's not, because like I've done a couple shows multiple times, and doing a show at one point in my life and doing the same show 5 years later can be completely different experiences. So, I mean, doing Princess and the Frog was a lifetime dream of mine. To create something that, I mean, I grew up watching on Sundays. We used to have 7 o'clock was like the Disney hour, and they would play movies, and the castle would come up and the stars would go around the castle and Tinkerbell would fly, and I would get so excited.
Yeah.
And to know that like I'm in a movie that starts that way and maybe has the same effect on people that it had on me, that is probably my greatest thing I've ever done. But fulfillment, I like creating things that no one's done before. So creating characters that I decide if I'm playing a 6-foot-tall woman, or I decide, like, I make all the choices of what this character is. And to me, that's probably the most fulfilling part of what I do.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I've gone through my entire list of questions.
I love that you have. It's like, here's my phone with my list.
Did I pass?
I love it, Ashton. Those are great questions. So thoughtful. Well, thanks for joining us, Ashton. Really appreciate
you.
And thank you for writing more questions when everybody stole yours.
No problem. I had to come prepared.
Yes, and we'll see you soon, Ashton.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
He is such a great kid. They're all so awesome. So I'm not sure what happened. I sent a message, but I think, well, in any way, it works in the end that we're nearing our time. We've only got a few minutes left. So I think like we've been asked about advice. I'm trying to think what some of the other nuggets that people have always come back with. Oh gosh, the advice was there, but you've given so much good stuff with that. What might you tell, like we have a ton of crew and costume kids who really have stepped up. Have you done any work with anything other than acting?
Not professionally. Knock on wood. I've been fortunate that I get to do what I studied. But, I work with amazing people. I work with amazing stage managers and amazing designers of costumes and lighting. And they're all, so skilled at what they do. I think my advice to going into that realm of the business is, you have professional theaters all around you, and any kind of internship or, write them, send an email to the artistic directors and say, I just want to see how it works. I'm interested. I guarantee you're going to get a response. And that, learn from the best. If you have a chance to learn from the best, do it. That goes for acting too, I guess. But yeah, I would always tell people, you have something that I never had, which is the internet. And it opens so many opportunities for everybody, because I could, as a young person, look and see, oh my gosh, I want to do Dear Evan Hansen. I want to do that show. And I can go online and I can find all the music, and I can sing all the music, and I can learn all the choreography, and I can know it So if an audition comes up, I already know the music, and like I would be doing that now. I would be finding out what kind of roles you want to play or what kind of shows you want to design, and start learning everything you can about those shows, because it's right in front of you. I don't know. We only had the Tony Awards once a year. That's the only time we ever saw, Broadway.
Yeah, and if you're not making those trips, and it's not, it's not a quick, inexpensive trip to get to those shows.
Yeah, the shows now are crazy.
I know, and I'm afraid when it comes back, because of limitations, it might be even higher. So I hope it will still be accessible.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think the business will be okay. Like, please.
I hope so.
And oh gosh, see, I had, and then listening to you, and then I lose my question.
I'm sorry.
No, it's because you're so interesting to listen to. I love it. Oh my gosh, my brain. And now I guess that is, I love that you've connected so many things for all the kids. I think it's just wonderful. And I'm so appreciative of you taking time out of your schedule to come and spend your hour with us, because it's, like you said, it's to have this opportunity and just be able to pick somebody's brain who has done it already.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, just send them to me. I'll respond. So
yes, well, this series is something that kind of was born out of COVID. I was like, we didn't know if we were going to be able to do a spring show. Our fall play was canceled. So I was like, what can we do? And we've got all of these wonderful alum, and they're not working now either. So let's reach out and make everybody happy. So it's really it's inspired that this is something I'm gonna, now we know how easy it is to communicate and get online, and kids are familiar with it, and this is going to be something that now I'm really committed to continuing. So you might be hearing from me again saying, hey, we're doing this.
Thank you, Erin. Anytime.
Yeah. And thank you so much. If there's anybody who's watching who wants to throw a question in the comment bank, but I think that we have just learned so much, and the kids, Enz and I ever could. I'm in awe of them too, because they always, and it's what they want to know, and I love knowing what they want to know. So thanks so much, Jen. I really appreciate it. And I'll ask you to just stay on for just a minute after I end. And thanks everyone for joining us. And what a great way to end our series. And if people weren't able to join us, they can watch, because it's going to be there for forever and ever until I get rid of it, which I won't. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.